Hello, welcome to the Utopia. Snuggle in for tonight's story. Pour yourself a warm drink, dim the lights, get comfortable, and settle into your favorite spot. As the world outside grows quiet, we're about to step into a tale filled with mystery, darkness, and things that are best left unexplained. So grab a blanket, keep your eyes on the shadows, and remember, not every story stays on the page. The Hollow Creek Disappearances. Tonight's case takes us deep into a small mountain town called Hollow Creek, a place where everyone knew each other, a place where people left their doors unlocked, a place where silence wasn't suspicious, until people started disappearing into it. One woman vanished after work, then a teenage boy, then a school teacher. Each disappearance looked impossible. No witnesses, no bodies, no signs of struggle. And then came the phone calls. Calls from the missing. Calls that should not have been possible. Tonight, we're opening the case file on one of Hollow Creek's darkest legends, the Hollow Creek Disappearances. Chapter 1. The Town That Kept Quiet. Hollow Creek was the kind of town people usually drove through without stopping. A gas station, a diner, a post office, a church with peeling white paint, and beyond all of it, the mountains. Thick woods surrounded the town on every side, rising up like walls. People there were private. They waved from porches, but they didn't ask too many questions. They knew who drank too much. They knew whose marriage was falling apart. They knew which houses had secrets. But in Hollow Creek, secrets were treated like family heirlooms. You didn't touch them unless they belonged to you. By the summer of 1998, most of the younger people wanted out. They wanted bigger cities, better jobs, louder lives. But 21-year-old Emily Warren stayed. Emily worked late nights at Dolly's Diner, a small roadside restaurant with red vinyl booths and a flickering neon sign. She was saving money to move to Knoxville. She had a blue pickup truck, a golden retriever named Sammy, and a mother who called her every morning. Emily was not the type to disappear. That's what everyone said afterward. She was not the type. But on June 14th, 1998, Emily Warren finished her late shift, locked the diner door, and walked into the dark parking lot. 3 customers saw her leave. Her coworker watched from the window as Emily got into her truck. The engine started, the headlights came on, and then Emily drove away. She never made it home. Chapter 2. Emily's Driveway. The next morning, Emily's mother Linda woke up and noticed something strange. Emily's truck was in the driveway. At first, Linda felt relieved. She thought Emily must have come home quietly and gone straight to bed. But when she stepped into the hallway, Emily's bedroom door was open. The bed had not been slept in. Her purse was on the kitchen table. Her shoes were by the door. Her dog was whining near the back porch. Linda called out her daughter's name. No answer. She checked the bathroom, the closets, the basement. Then she walked outside to the truck. The driver's side door was unlocked. The keys were still in the ignition. The gas tank was nearly full. There was no blood, no broken glass, no sign of a crash, no sign of a fight. Just an empty truck sitting perfectly in the driveway. That was when Linda called the sheriff. Chapter 3. The First Search. At first, authorities treated Emily as a missing adult. Maybe she left willingly. Maybe she met someone. Maybe she had a fight with her mother and needed space. But Linda refused to accept that. Emily had left behind her paycheck, her wallet, her medication, her dog. And most importantly, she had left without telling anyone. That was not Emily. The first search began that afternoon. Volunteers walked the roads between Dolly's Diner and Emily's house. They checked ditches, fields, barns, creeks, and wooded pull-offs. Nothing. Search dogs were brought in. They picked up Emily's scent near the driveway. then lost it almost immediately. That detail bothered investigators. If Emily had walked away, the dogs should have followed her trail. If she had been forced into another vehicle, there might have been tire marks, but there was nothing. It was as if Emily had arrived home and vanished before reaching the front door. Chapter 4. The First Call. 3 weeks passed. Posters went up across town. Emily's picture was taped to gas station windows, church bulletin boards, and telephone poles. Linda barely slept. Every time the phone rang, she jumped. And then, on July 6th, at 2:13 in the morning, the phone rang. Linda answered. At first, all she heard was static, then breathing. Soft, uneven, far away. Linda said, "Hello?" There was a pause. Then a voice whispered, "Mom?" Linda froze. It was Emily. Weak, faint, but unmistakably Emily. Linda screamed her daughter's name into the phone. She asked where she was, asked if she was hurt, asked who had taken her. Emily did not answer any of those questions. Instead, she whispered, "Don't let them find me." Then the line went dead. Police traced the call. It came from an abandoned payphone 40 miles away. When officers arrived, the phone booth was empty. The receiver was still swinging. Chapter 5. Jason Cole. 2 weeks after Emily's call, 17-year-old Jason Cole disappeared. Jason was a high school senior, quiet, smart, the kind of kid who spent more time drawing in notebooks than talking in class. On July 20th, Jason left a friend's house around 10:30 p.m. His walk home should have taken less than 10 minutes. He never arrived. His friend said Jason had taken the same route dozens of times. Down Maple Road, past the old cemetery, across the footbridge, then home. The search began before sunrise. By noon, half the town was out looking. They found Jason's backpack near the footbridge. Inside were his sketchbook, headphones, and a half-empty bottle of soda. Nothing appeared disturbed. No signs of a struggle. No footprints. No blood. But on the last page of Jason's sketchbook, investigators found something strange. A drawing of a dark tunnel. At the center of the drawing was a small figure standing alone. Above the figure, Jason had written one sentence. "I hear them when I sleep." His parents insisted Jason had never mentioned anything like that, but one of his teachers later said Jason had seemed distracted in the weeks before he vanished. He would stare out the window during class. When asked what was wrong, he reportedly said, "Sometimes it sounds like someone is calling me from underground." Chapter 6. The Old Mine. The words "underground" changed the direction of the investigation. Just outside Hollow Creek sat an abandoned mining site. The Black Pine Mine had closed in 1956 after a collapse killed several workers. Officially, the entrances were sealed. Unofficially, kids had been sneaking into the old mine for decades. It was a local dare, a place teenagers went to scare each other, a place parents warned their children to avoid. The sheriff ordered a search of the mine property. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Rusting equipment, collapsed storage sheds, warning signs covered in moss. But inside one of the buildings, officers found a small room that looked recently used. There was a lantern, canned food, a dirty blanket, and several newspapers about Emily Warren's disappearance. Someone had been staying there, or at least watching. Chapter 7. The Journal. Behind a loose board in that same building, investigators found a notebook. It had no name inside, no dates at first, just fragments, short sentences written in shaky handwriting. They come out after midnight. They wear people wrong. The doors move when you're not looking. The girl keeps crying. At first, detectives assumed the journal belonged to someone mentally unstable, possibly a drifter, possibly someone hiding on the mine property. But then they reached the final page. The handwriting had grown messy and rushed. It read, "I followed the voices tonight. I should not have followed them. There are more tunnels than the maps show. I saw Emily, but she was not alone." That line changed everything. Police searched the mine again, this time deeper. Chapter 8. Sarah Bennett. Before investigators could make sense of the journal, a third person vanished. 34-year-old Sarah Bennett was a schoolteacher. She was well-liked, recently divorced, and known for jogging the same wooded trail every morning. On August 9th, Sarah parked at the Hollow Creek trailhead just after sunrise. Another jogger saw her stretching beside her car. Sarah waved. Then she entered the trail. She never came back. Her car remained in the parking lot. Her keys were hidden under the front tire, exactly where she always left them when she ran. Searchers found her headphones nearly half a mile into the woods. The cord had been cleanly cut. Not torn. Cut. That was the first clear sign that something violent may have happened. The town changed after Sarah disappeared. Parents stopped letting children play outside. The diner closed before dark. People began checking locks 2, 3, 4 times a night. And for the first time, residents started asking the question out loud. Was someone hunting people in Hollow Creek? Chapter 9. The Man in the Woods. A hunter named Dale Mercer came forward after Sarah vanished. He told police he had seen a man in the woods near the old mine 2 nights before Sarah disappeared. Dale described him as tall and thin, wearing dark clothes despite the summer heat. The man had no flashlight, no backpack, no hunting gear. Dale said what disturbed him most was the way the man moved. Slow, stiff, like someone learning how to walk. When Dale called out, the man stopped. He did not run. He did not hide. He simply turned toward Dale. Dale said he could not see the man's face clearly, but he felt certain of one thing. The man was smiling. Not a normal smile. A wide, empty smile. Then the man walked backward into the trees until the darkness swallowed him. Police searched the area but found no trace of him. Chapter 10. The Tapes. In September, investigators received an anonymous tip. A caller told police to check an abandoned cabin north of the mine. Inside the cabin, they found dozens of cassette tapes stacked inside a shoebox. Most were unlabeled. Some had dates written on them. Others had only names. Emily, Jason, Sarah. The recordings were disturbing. Some contained only static. Some captured breathing, footsteps, water dripping, a low humming sound. Then there were the voices. One tape, believed to be Emily, contained a woman crying and repeating, "I came home. I came home. Why am I not home?" Another tape had a young male voice whispering, "The doors keep moving." A third tape contained a woman's voice saying, "Please, I can hear people above me." Then a loud scraping sound. Then silence. Police never publicly confirmed whether the voices belonged to the missing, but families who heard portions of the tapes believed they did. Linda Warren reportedly broke down after hearing the first recording. She said, "That was my baby." Chapter 11. The Suspect. The investigation eventually focused on a man named Caleb Rusk. Caleb was 46 years old and had lived near the mine for most of his life. His father had worked for the Black Pine Mine before it closed. Caleb knew the woods better than almost anyone. He was quiet, unfriendly, rarely seen in town. Some residents said he was harmless. Others said he had always made them uncomfortable. Police searched his property. They found maps of the mine, old newspaper clippings, rope, lanterns, and several cassette tapes, but none directly tied him to the missing persons. Caleb denied involvement. He said people were blaming him because he lived alone and kept to himself. When asked about the mine, he said, "There are places under that mountain nobody should go." Detectives pushed him, asked if he knew where Emily, Jason, and Sarah were. Caleb reportedly stared at the table for a long time before answering. "If they went where I think they went, you won't bring them back." He was never charged. Chapter 12. The Hidden Entrance. Months later, a group of searchers discovered a hidden opening behind a wall of brush near the mine. It was not marked on any official map. The entrance was narrow, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Inside, the air was cold, too cold for summer. Search teams moved slowly through the passage. The tunnel sloped downward. The walls were scratched with strange markings. At first, they looked random. Then one investigator realized they were names. Dozens of names. Some old, some fresh. Emily Warren's name was there. Jason Cole's name. Sarah Bennett's name. But there were others too. Names no one recognized. Names that may have belonged to people who vanished long before the summer of 1998. The tunnel eventually opened into a large underground chamber, and inside that chamber, investigators found personal belongings: shoes, wallets, jewelry, keys, photographs, Jason's watch, Sarah's bracelet, Emily's diner name tag. But no bodies. Not one. Chapter 13. The Room Below. At the far end of the chamber was something no one expected. A door. Not a mineshaft support, not a metal barrier. A wooden door. Old, heavy, and standing upright in the stone wall. There should not have been a door there. Behind it was solid mountain, at least according to the maps. The door had no handle on the outside, only scratch marks, deep ones. The search team forced it open. Behind it was another tunnel. This one looked different from the rest. The walls were smooth, almost polished. No supports, no tracks, no signs of mining. The further they went, the weaker their radios became. Flashlights flickered. One deputy later said he heard a woman whisper his name. Another said he saw someone standing at the end of the tunnel, but when he blinked, the figure was gone. After about 200 feet, the tunnel ended suddenly. Solid stone. No exit, no side passages, nothing. But on the ground were footprints. Fresh footprints. Barefoot. Leading directly into the wall. Chapter 14. The Final Call. In December of 1998, almost 6 months after Emily disappeared, Linda Warren received one final call. This time, she was ready. Police had placed a trace on her phone. The call came in at 3:03 a.m. Linda answered with officers listening nearby. Again, there was static. Again, breathing. Then, Emily's voice. But something was different. She sounded calm. Too calm. She said, "Mom, I found the way out." Linda started sobbing. She begged Emily to tell her where she was. Emily said, "I can see the house." Linda ran to the window. Outside, the driveway was empty. The yard was still. Emily continued, "You shouldn't have let me come home." Then another voice came through. Low, male, close to the receiver. It said, "She was never home." The line disconnected. Police traced the call. It came from Linda's own house, from the upstairs extension. But no one was upstairs. Chapter 15. What happened to Caleb Rusk? After the final call, police returned to Caleb Rusk. They believed he knew more than he had admitted, but when they arrived at his property, Caleb was gone. His front door was open. Food sat untouched on the kitchen table. His truck was parked outside. In his bedroom, investigators found a tape recorder. Inside was one cassette. The recording was only 40 seconds long. Caleb's voice could be heard breathing heavily. He said, "I was wrong. It isn't a person. It never was." Then came a sound like stone scraping against stone. Caleb whispered, "It wears the lost ones." Then he screamed. The tape ended. Caleb Rusk was never seen again. Chapter 16. Years Later. The official investigation eventually slowed. There were no bodies, no arrests, no explanation that satisfied anyone. The mine entrances were sealed again. Concrete barriers were placed over known openings. Warning signs were posted. But people in Hollow Creek said sealing the mine didn't stop anything. They still heard voices in the woods, still saw lights moving between the trees, still found footprints in places no one had walked. Every few years, someone else disappeared. A camper, a drifter, a college student passing through. Not enough to make national news, but enough for Hollow Creek to remember. Enough for locals to whisper, "The mountain is hungry again." Chapter 17. The Photograph. In 2012, Emily's younger sister received an envelope in the mail. There was no return address, no postmark. Inside was a single photograph. The picture showed Emily, older, pale, standing near the entrance of a cave. Her hair was longer, her face was thinner, but it was her. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "I tried to leave." Experts could not determine where the photo was taken. They also could not explain how Emily appeared to have aged. If the photograph was real, then Emily may have been alive years after vanishing. But if she was alive, where had she been? And why had she never come home? Chapter 18. The Case Today. Today, Hollow Creek is quieter than ever. Dolly's Diner closed years ago. The old payphone was removed. The school where Sarah taught was torn down. The Black Pine Mine is officially sealed. But the story remains. Locals still warn outsiders not to hike near the old trails after dark. Parents still tell children not to answer if they hear someone calling from the woods. And every so often, usually late at night, someone in town receives a call from an unknown number. Static, breathing, a voice they almost recognize, a voice asking to come home. The Hollow Creek disappearances were never solved. Emily Warren, Jason Cole, Sarah Bennett, Caleb Rusk, and all the others whose names may never be known. No bodies were recovered. No one was convicted. No answers were ever given. Some believe Caleb Rusk was responsible. Some believe there was a hidden killer using the old mine, and others believe the mountain itself was hiding something older than anyone understood. Maybe the truth is buried beneath Hollow Creek. Maybe it always was. Or maybe the truth still calls sometimes, through static, through darkness, through voices that sound almost human. If you enjoyed tonight's story, don't forget to follow the podcast for more mysteries, spooky tales. Stay cozy and be careful what answers you go looking for in the dark. I will see you in the next one. Bye!